Hey guys, and welcome to Hub City Fibers episode 10. My name is Lillian and I am the host of this wonderful knitting podcast and fiber podcast that I started. I'm very new at this, but it's really exciting and I'm really liking the process so far thus. I am the independent dyer behind Hub City Fibers. You can see some of my yarns right here in the background. This is yarn that I started dyeing in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I'm still coming to you from that area, so central New Jersey is where I am. I started dyeing about 2-3 years ago, and I fell in love with the whole process, and I love to knit. So I'm really now just starting to knit with all of my stuff. You can find me on Instagram. I am at Hub City Fibers, so if you guys want to follow along what I'm doing every single day and what I do behind the scenes of running this independent yarn company, that is a micro yarn company because I do very small batches of yarn. I don't try to, exceed large amounts. I like to keep it nice and small, keep it a little bit more personal. And I only dye colors that I myself would want to knit with, so that's also something that I'm also putting out there. I want to thank all the new viewers and all the new subscribers. Welcome to my podcast and to my little corner of the interwebs. And to all returning viewers, a very special thank you for following along, and I hope you enjoy this podcast. This podcast is going to be outlined in the following way. I'm going to be showing you guys what I'm currently making, any FOs, any finished objects, a lot of knitting content for you guys, what I plan to knit in 2019, as well as what I knit in 2018, so you guys see what I've been making this year. If you are new or you don't follow me on Instagram, yeah, I'll be able to show you guys what I made this whole year. Let's start with works in progress and what I've been making. So the first item I have is the husband sweater, and that's living in my Toad Hollow project bag that I got at Chelsea Yarn. And this is a pattern by Jared Flood. It is the Rift pullover. And so far so good, guys. It says it's a difficult pattern, but so far so good. I am knitting it out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and this yarn is what dreams are made of. It is such a rustic yarn, yet the fabric that it produces is very light, if that makes any sense. So if you're a knitter who's kind of like scared to use like the more rustic yarns, I think this would be a great yarn to work with if you want to kind of just delve in to see if you like knitting with the more rustic yarns. But it is very soft. Anyways, this is my progress. I'm pretty much going to be breaking for the front and back and for the sleeves. And I'm using my Knit Pick wooden needles. I'm more of a high sharps girl, but I don't know where the needles for this size are. I think I'm working on another project, so that's why I didn't cast on it. Honestly, I don't mind the rusticy yarns with the wooden tips, but my usual is metal. And I'm really liking the detail of the side of the garment, which is like this kind of like rib pattern. And yeah, so this is the husband sweater, and this is what I am making him for the holidays. I don't know if I'll definitely won't be able to finish in time for Christmas, since that is going to be next week. But we are going to EYF, Edinburgh Yarn Festival, in March, and hopefully I can have this done before then. So that's what's going on there. So I got this yarn at Wool & Grace, which is a yarn store here in New Jersey, in Summit, New Jersey. And I ended up getting Snowbound by Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, or the colorway Snowbound. And just to tell you guys what this is a worsted weight yarn. It comes with 140 yards per skein. And I really love this yarn because it's sourced, spun, and dyed in the United States, which I think is really nice. I really like to support that, and I'm really happy that Steve will be able to have a sweater that's source spun, dyed, and knit in the United States, which is pretty awesome. So I'm really excited to give him, and this is an American Targhee Columbia wool, and it's really just, it's just a wonderful yarn. I want to make all the things in this wool. It's really just such a wonderful yarn. I would say that this is one of my favorite yarns. I do want to try two other rustic-y similar types of yarns, which are the something with a Q, Quince & Co. I want to try Quince & Co. And then there's another one that's pretty similar to Brooklyn Tweed Shelter that I want to try, but I can't think of it. If you guys know of any yarns that are similar to Brooklyn Tweed Center, definitely put something down below in the comments. I would love to hear of anyone who loves working with these types of yarns, what their recommendations are. So that's what's living in this bag. So I've been pretty monogamous with the sweater just because I really just enjoyed the process of knitting it. But I also love to have two items on the go, and I was able to finish a hat, which I will show you in the next segment, which is my finished objects. But I am working on a sock. I casted on a sock because honestly the couple of socks that I've been working on, I just wasn't enjoying the process, so I've kind of just put those away because I don't find joy in knitting them, and if I don't find joy in knitting them, I don't want to really knit on them. So I hope that makes sense. So I casted on a pair of vanilla socks, and I am using my Footloose base, which is BFL, Superwash BFL, and Nylon, which is my sock base. And I cast it on in my Skin Deep colorway. And I have a little Taco Progress Keeper, which is from Suker Miniatures. And this is just a regular 56 stitch cast on with a 2x2 rib and just like plain stock net. I'm thinking about making these calf socks, or I might just go, yeah, calf socks or maybe like mid-ankle. I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet, but I really am loving this color, and I really love nudes, so I had to cast this on. And if you guys are watching Vlogmas, you saw that I was talking about how I should either cast on this colorway of mine by Hub City Fibers or my Komorebi colorway, and I decided to cast on socks because I just really miss, like, I want to just enjoy my sock project, and this is making me so happy. I really love this colorway that I dyed. I have to dye more of it. And yeah, it's just like a rosy clay tonal nude pink. And yeah, it's a tonal because it's kind of like, it's not necessarily variegated, but there's like lighter shades and darker shades. And I'm loving it. So this living in my sock bag, which I got in Turkey when I went to Turkey a while back, and I'm really happy. It's the perfect sock bag, and I'm knitting this on my US size 2. I always forget the name of the needles that I'm using, but this is it has like a metal tip and just like a regular, it's not wooden, but it's not like fully metal. And I forget what these are called, but I will try to put them right here. I think they're called the Knit Pro Zings. I'm not sure. Again, I prefer to knit with my High Sharps, but I have another project, another sock project that I'm working on that I have not picked up, and those are what's on the needles there. So to move on, let's talk about FOs, finished objects. So as I mentioned before, I did finish a finished object. I decided to cast on a hat, and I decided to use my Nikola Tesla colorway, which is this really bright mohair, and it reminds me of like electricity and Nikola Tesla, and you know, he's like the father one of the fathers of physics and electricity and electromagnetism. So I thought it was appropriate to name a colorway that is as bright as this neon color after him. And I wanted to kind of play with texture. So like a lot of the time people buy mohair and they'll mask it with another colorway, so it'll be like a mashup of the colors. But what I wanted to do is use a mohair and then kind of like a white base to kind of bring out the color of the mohair and also kind of lighten up the fabric that it knits up as. And so thus came this random ribbed hat that I made. And this is using a white base with it stranded with Nikola Tesla, and it just kind of tones down the brightness of it but still creates like a really wonderful pattern. And I still have to block this, but I ended up taking a little bit of my Komorebi colorway, which is this blue, this like tealish light blue, and also using a strand of the mohair Nikola Tesla, and it created that. And honestly it came out really, really nice. Like, I like that it's a little bit bright and it's just like a fun textural knit. And honestly, this is just a hat that I randomly casted on, and like I did not very good decreases, but it works and it's warm and I love it. So this is my only finished object that I have, and that's okay. I've been trying to knit as much as possible, but there's only so many hours in the day to knit. So that's one of my FOs. Well, some of the plans that I have for 2019 is to cast on a bunch of patterns. Some of the patterns that I want to cast on, I'll post a picture of what I want to cast on as I say it and who the designer is. And these are projects that have really stuck out to me. I have been on Ravelry and I just started browsing, and I always have a bunch of favorites, but I want to maybe cast on these certain patterns. So let me talk a little bit more about them. So I think I want to focus on using yarn that is more bulky and DK weight. So a lot of the projects I'm going to mention are DK bulky weight, just because they're a little bit faster and they're like instant gratification. And I don't know, I'm just really into DKs right now. So the first pattern that I want to cast on is called Midwinter, and it's a cowl project designed by Laura Aylor, which is a bulky pattern. And I'm thinking about using my chunky base, which is a bulky weight, and this would make the cowl, which I'm really excited for. It is a color work pattern, so I think it would be really fun and it would go by super fast. So that's that, and it looks super cozy too, so I'm really excited to cast that on and kind of play with some colors there. So that looks really warm, and I think it seems like a pretty easy pattern. So if you've never tried color work, I think it'd be a good intro step into that field of knitting, which I know a lot of people are really into the color work pattern. So that's that. This is another sweater. This is the year of the sweater. 2018 was the year of the sweater, and I think I'm going to continue to knit more sweaters because honestly it's fun to wear something that you made. And you know, I really enjoyed that. I did knit a couple of sweaters, and I'll show you guys later in the podcast all the sweaters that I knit this year. But Carabeth by Kate Davies is a beautiful DK weight sweater that is definitely on my list to make this year. I saw this pattern in Voolenvine's podcast where she talked about a lot of people in Edinburgh Yarn Festival last year, or this year. 2018's Edinburgh Yarn Festival. A lot of people had this pattern knit up, and it looks like a beautiful, simple, beautiful pattern, and it's made out of DK weight, so it must knit up really, really fast. But yeah, I'm really interested in this design. It's very simple yet elegant, and I think it would be a great cast on for this year. Another pattern that really stuck out to me on Ravelry is the Rydar pullover by Amy Christophers. It's another DK weight sweater, which I just fell in love with. It reminded me of this one sweater that I bought at Madewell, and it's the same color and everything, and it's the same fabric. It has a little bit of alpaca, the original design, and I just love the way that the pullover that I bought at Madewell hugs my body. And I think that if I knit this sweater designed by Amy Christophers, I think that would be something that I can always gravitate towards and like pull on. And yeah, she originally uses Green Mountain Spinnery, which I've always wanted to try, but I might end up using my own hand-dyed yarn as well. So we'll see. That's definitely something that I want to cast on and make for 2019. Now we're going to talk about what I made in 2018. And these are patterns that I made. I am a part of this knit along, which is a KAL hosted by Vine. All of this knit along is to knit as many sweaters in the year, and so I definitely followed through with that. I knit 3 or 4 sweaters. 4 sweaters? Maybe it was 3 or 4 sweaters. I have to see when I made my Joji Locatelli lemongrass sweater and see if that's a part of the 2018. But knit my Zweig, which I've heard, if you guys follow me on the podcast, you know what my Zweig looks like. And it is a pattern by Boylan Knits. And it is this beautiful lace, little bit of color work, and cable design that is just super beautiful. And this is in my Orgasm colorway and in my Grains of Paradise colorway. And it is a fingering weight yarn in my Indulge base and my Creative Single Series base. And my Creative Single Series colorways are non-repeatable colorways. It's just a way for me to kind of like experiment with color. So I know a couple of you have reached out and wanted to snag some Orgasm. I'm really sorry, but it is a non-repeatable colorway. But Grains of Paradise, which is my main colorway, is a repeatable colorway. So yeah. Another sweater I made, and this is not in chronological order that I'm showing you this, but it's another pattern by Boylan Knits, and it is the Tecumseh, which I love. I have yet to block it though and take pictures of it, so it's not officially out, but I love the Tecumseh. It is super, super warm, and I did my own rendition on this sweater. I cropped it a little bit, and I used my hand-dyed yarn Delicious DK, which is a merino nylon cashmere, and I used my raw milk colorway, which is my ecru. It's just the ecru yarn, as well as my Komorebi colorway, which is kind of like this like tonal blue, and then I use my Skin Deep colorway in the DK. And guys, the combo is everything that you want and more, in a nice kind of like heavier weight. So it's really nice to just throw on when it's super cold out or if you're lounging around the house, and I really love it. Fun fact, I'm actually wearing the first sweater I ever made, and I get my laundry done, so I accidentally put this in the bunch and it kind of shrunk it a little bit, but it's okay. I'm just gonna wear it until it gets bigger again. But yeah, I just put that on. Another pattern that I knit this year was the Perfect Crop Top by Teresa TCPT, which is a pattern by Teresa, I forget her name, but I'll put in the down bar over here. And this was a really fun crop sweater that is really a nice layering piece that I made. And this is knit in Hub City Fibers as well, in my Chestnuts Roasting colorway. Here's a close-up. I put a little pin on it, which I absolutely love. I love to put like little accessories on my knits. And this is in my Chestnuts Roasting colorway. And guys, it is an amazing pattern. It's a beautiful layering piece, like I just said. I like to put like turtlenecks with this, or I can wear this when it's a little warm, like when it's starting to get a little bit warmer out. This is something to throw on. Now, I do have the Selbu mitten pattern that I did knit, and this is by, I forget, she's from the UK, or she's not from America, she's definitely from like Europe, like the UK. I forget who designed these, but this, I only knit one. And I think this was towards the beginning of the year last year, but I loved it. And this was kind of like when I was developing my Fair Isle skills, but I never got around to knitting the second one. So I don't know if I will cast the second one on, just because it did take me a while and the needles I was using just weren't ideal to knit this type of yarn, just because it kept on slipping and it was just not a fun knit. And it's not necessarily due to the design, it's just the needles I was using. And if I was to switch the needles, I'm a little bit scared that the gauge won't be the same, because it's just been so long since I've knit it. So there's that. And you guys know my Kaboo cat. This is another Boylan Knits pattern that I knit this year, and it's using my Skin Deep colorway and Chelsea Celebration, which is a mohair yarn that I received, or that I purchased at her 5-year business party, which was awesome. And I bought this pom-pom there as well, and I love it too. And yeah, this is like my go-to hat this year. So I'm really glad I made this. And this was a design that uses the technique of baubles, which are like these little bobbly things. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. The next segment is going to be my blather segment, and that's a term that was coined from Vine's podcast. It's just going to be a segment where I talk about what I'm listening to, what I'm watching, and just like life stuff. One of the things that I want to talk about are what my future cast-ons are that I forgot to talk about in the segment where I talk about my plans for 2019. Another plan that I'm going to cast on is another pattern, is the Sparkling Cider pattern by Vine. She's like one of my idols. I love her podcast, and yeah, she's awesome. So I thought I would support her and purchase her hat pattern, which I did. And that was one thing that I wanted to actually talk about what I want to cast on. So I want to use my Komorebi colorway, which is this like pastel-y blue. And this colorway is a colorway that I dyed inspired by my trip to Japan, because Komorebi is a Japanese word that is really not translatable in English, but it means the sun beaming through the trees. And I thought that that was such a beautiful word that I was like, I need to make a colorway out of that. And so Komorebi was born. I want to use my leftover Nikola Tesla colorway from my random rimmed hat that I knit, and this pom-pom that I got at Knitty City last weekend. That's like a perfect complement to the Komorebi. This is a beaded pattern as well, so I bought beads and I bought this crochet hook that I also needed. But I bought these marigold beads. I bought these marigold beads, and I thought these would be really perfect for the Sparkling Cider hat. So I'm really excited to use this. Beads in a pattern is something that I have not done before, so I'm really excited to add a new technique to my repertoire of techniques for knitting. And yeah, that's another thing that I'm planning on knitting. I was going through my stash, and I was looking at these hand spun minis that I spun up, and this is from a loop bump, a bullseye bump, and I started to spin a little bit again. And I'm not big on spinning just yet, just because there's just not that many hours in the day. So, but when I do pick it up, I just really am enjoying it. When I do pick it up, it's just like a nice break from knitting, but it's still like a fiber art. And this is on my Golding drop spindle. And yeah, this is something that I haven't finished spinning, but I do have a couple of the skeins already Navajo plied, and I'm trying to think of what would be a really good pattern for these These are it a little bit closer. If any of you guys are spinners, let me know what you would do with, what kind of project you would make with this kind of like gradient yarn that's ideal for hand spun. I forget who I started to follow, but they're a hand spinner and they also weave. And the way that hand spun yarn weaves up is absolutely stunning. And I definitely kind of want to buy a loom, but I won't because I just have so many things that I'm doing. But maybe in the future I'll delve into weaving, or maybe go to a weaving class. I'll have to check where I can find one of those. But this bump was a total of 4 ounces, so it'll make about 400 yards if I continue. I don't know if this is spinning. I don't know if this is fingering weight, but it's maybe like a sports weight. But if you guys have any suggestions, definitely let me know down below. I would love to hear what you guys do with your hand spun. And yeah, on Netflix, I am watching The Great British Baking Show. And if you guys haven't started watching that show, it is such a great show to just fall asleep to. And they make these pastries and these breads and these cookies and stuff, and they seem very complicated, and they're just like these ordinary people that they bring that just have regular jobs and work, and then on the weekends they like come to this place where they like compete in baking, and I think that's so amazing. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I don't usually gravitate towards like cooking game shows, but this one's really, really good. So I highly recommend watching that. And yeah, I think I'm going to cut it off right here. Thank you so much for watching. I am participating in Vlogmas this year, so if you guys are interested, I have been vlogging from December 1st till Christmas Day. And I think that's what's going to be my Christmas cast on, is the sparkling cider hat, by the way. So if you guys participate in Christmas cast on, that's what I think I'm going to cast on. But hey, who knows? Things might change. If for all of you that don't know what Vlogmas is where you vlog every day between the days of December 1st to December 25th. And yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit more difficult vlogging every single day, but I've actually really been enjoying it. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone who started to follow me because of it and continues to watch. And yeah, I will cut it off here. Thank you guys for watching again. Bye!